I often hear you use the phrase, the borrower is slave to the lender, and I definitely agree with that principle in many ways. But then on the other end, I notice that when it comes to a mortgage, you are okay borrowing in that instance, which seems almost to betray that principle a little bit. And I guess I was just curious on your reasoning as to why you think it's okay to borrow in that instance.
Pastor, that is a wonderful question. Of course, you're quoting the scriptures, Proverbs 22:7, the rich rules over the poor and the borrower is slave to the lender. And this is a biblical principle that we're violating when we say it's okay to take out a mortgage. And that's your point, and you're correct completely on that. It is the only hypocritical advice we give on this show. It's the only thing we tell people it's okay to do that I never do. I went broke in my 20s as I was a baby Christian. I had just met God, and I discovered in that process a guy teaching what the Bible said about money named Larry Burkett, and I said, I'm going to follow what the Bible says. I'm never borrowing money again, and I've never borrowed money again. I don't borrow money for anything ever, for any reason, under any circumstances. Everything else I tell people on the show to do, I do exactly what I say to do. Allowing people to take out a mortgage without me yelling at them, it's the only time that my advice is inconsistent with my life. Does that make sense?
Right.
And it's completely fair for you to call me out on it, and then I'll answer your question. But I wanted to caveat that and say, I don't borrow money for anything. And sometimes when I get a question where it's kind of borderline whether they have to borrow or not, I tell them that story. I say, hey, I don't borrow for anything, and I recommend that. That is the best way. If you follow biblical principles in your marriage is going to prosper. If you follow biblical principles raising your kids are going to be amazing. And the same's true in your money and in your leadership. If you're running a church, running a business, same thing's true. And I believe if the Bible says it and you do it, it's a good thing, right? So I'm with you on that. Now, the reason that I lighten up when someone calls in on that is two things. One is I can pretty much talk you out of or call you stupid taking out a car loan, because cars go down in value, the interest rate is higher, and there's no correlation between buying cars with payments and becoming wealthy. Very few millionaires will tell you that, the best thing I ever did was agree to borrow on a car because I needed a car because I was out in the country and I was driving a long way and I needed a car. No millionaires told us that when we studied 10,000 of them. So the fruit is not there. I'm a fruit inspector. The second thing is millionaires do tell us that they borrowed to buy a house many times, and when they got it paid off, they never borrowed money again after that. They're debt averse, but not completely mortgage averse. So the data is in that millionaires do that, even though I would tell you the best way to do it is save up and pay cash for it. It's hard to get people to save up for 10 years to buy a house. I can get them to save up 3 years to buy a car.